All right, we're going to wade into the deep end of the pool a little bit here, and that's a little bit of a pun for those of you who hate pun humor. Uh, that's just the way it goes. But we got an article here from the Daily Mail. The Daily Mail out of the UK, and it's all about a transgender swimmer by the name of Lia Thomas. Now, for the purpose of this, I'm not going to refer to the name Leah. I'm just going to call them Thomas. They don't like that. That's a little too bad here. But that's just kind of the way it's going to go. Now, I'm not going to say which one this is, but I'm going to put up a picture here of the swimmer. And then you tell me who it is. You tell me which one I'm talking about. That's a picture from the article. I'm not going to say which one it is, but we'll just see if you can guess it. Which one it is. Well, and you may ask, why do I want to talk about this? Well, there's a good reason for it, because their foundation of everything is completely off. But I want to unpack this a little bit, because this actually came to light not too long ago. The whole article is called Women Are Now Third-Class Citizens. UPenn Swimmer Speaks Out Against Trans Teammate Lia Thomas, and says she wasn't even close to being competitive as a man after her latest win. Now, that's an important detail, but I want to pick up the cowardice here. I want to pick up a little bit on the culture that we're living in, and why is it most important? Because this is what's being taught to the next generation. That is what's going on. This is what's being taught as normal. This is what's being taught as you're supposed to accept it, and so forth. But let's unpack the article a little bit. I'm going to read a little bit from the article here. It says, an anonymous University of Pennsylvania swimmer has slammed transgender teammate Lia Thomas as she continues to dominate in the pool in a meet against Harvard this weekend, saying that she was not even close to being competitive when competing as a man. Now, I want you to understand that. This is their statement, not mine. They said, you understand how this works, okay? Lia Thomas, or Thomas here, was as a man. They were on the men's swimming team, and they weren't even close. That's the way it was. They weren't even close as it. And that's where they want to say, I'll give you the history here. It says they were not even close to being competitive as a man in the 50s and the 100s. That's freestyle events. And the anonymous person adds, so she adds, but just because Thomas is a biologically a man, they are just naturally better than many female athletes in the 50s and 100s, or anything else that they weren't as good as a man. Now, that would get you in trouble right there. There's a reason this person is speaking anonymously. Why are they speaking anonymously? Well, they openly say, this is from the article again, people have come to me and said this is wrong. This is the anonymous person who spoke to the Washington Examiner. I am typically liberal, but this is past that. This is so wrong. This doesn't make any sense. She wants people to speak out against what she believes is a problem, but, and here's the kicker, doesn't want to harm her future. She knows that if she speaks publicly and her name comes out, she's going to be blacklisted, she's going to be removed, despite the fact she's speaking out. So what would you normally do in a situation like this? What would you normally do? Well, they said, well, you would appeal to the governing body. You would appeal to the governing body. Well, who's the governing body over the swimming? Well, the NCAA. The NCAA is, okay. And so they decided they're going to review this. The Thomas controversial win saw the NCAA review its guidelines for male-to-female trans athletes on Wednesday. But the body ultimately washed its hands of the row surrounding transgender athletes in college athletics. So what did they do? We're not going to deal with it. We're going to pass the buck. We're going to get rid of it. So who did they pass it to? So under the new guidelines approved by the NCAA Board of Governors, transgender participation of each sport will be determined by the policy for each sport's national governing body. In Thomas's case, this would fall under USA Swimming. So the NCAA refuses to take a stand. They really do. They're no, we're not going to do it. This is why this anonymous person who came forth said women are now third-class citizens. Why? Because you got men, you got the trans, now you got women. It's like your rights are less in the world of athletics. That's kind of what they're saying. Why? Because you don't have too many women transitioning to men jumping into men's sports. There's a reason for that. But remember, this idea is that what we're being taught is trans women are women. Well, are they? Or do they have biologically enhanced abilities? Why? Because under the teaching, under their foundation, man and woman is simply a social construct. It's a feeling. You can feel like a man, you can feel like a woman, and whatever you feel like, that's what you go to. So coming down to the NCAA, they just went, hey, we're going to wash our hands. We're going to go to the USA Swim. So what is the USA Swimming? Okay, let's continue in the article. It tells us what the USA Swimming wants. USA Swimming. They firmly believe in inclusivity and the opportunity for all athletes to experience the sport of swimming in a manner consistent with their gender identity and expression, this statement reads. So, they're just however you feel, however you express yourself, therefore you're allowed to do it. Now, they do have rules. They do have certain rules about this, that if it's a male to female transition. So if it's a guy who suddenly decides, hey, I'm not good enough to be a male swimmer, I'm good enough to be on the team, but I'm just going to disappear in a mediocrity, then I'm going to feel like I'm a woman. I'm going to transition and I'm going to go over to the women's side. They can't just jump right into the pool. They've got to take a testosterone depressant. They got to be on the treatment for a year. That's kind of the idea. And why does the USA Swimming kind of go with that? Well, they tell us that. It says, now here's the funny part. We strongly believe in competitive equality. And this is, unlike many, are doing our best to learn and educate ourselves on the appropriate balance in this space. Well, educate themselves. No. You're not you want to educate yourself? Go back to the very beginning. Go back to the scriptures. Go back to the Bible. Go back to the foundation. Men and women are different. Men and women are different. We have different abilities, different gifts, different roles. We are different. This is what most people don't understand. You want to know why the NBA is all men? It's got nothing to do with the fact that the rules state that NBA, you have to be a male to play in the NBA. You don't. The NBA is open to the best athletes. It just happens to all be men. Same with hockey. The NHL. The reason that there's not women in the NHL is not because of a rule saying, hey, women can't play in the NHL. The reason there are no women in the NHL is because they want the best athletes, because men and women are different. Men are biologically different than women, and it's not based on feeling. Here's the problem. Now, they argue and say, hey, we want a competitive equality. They want competitive equality, but do they have that with Thomas? They've been on the treatment for a year. They stopped down from men. They're now in the women. They decided, hey, they've taken enough testosterone depressants or whatever they're on. But is it competitive? Well, let's look at it, okay? We'll go back to December. It says the first so they come out and they broke the records. They broke records. Thomas has broken records as a woman, as classification as a woman. It says the first U.S. record was broken on December 3rd when Thomas won the 500-meter freestyle with a time of 44 minutes, 34 seconds, and 6.6 seconds. 34.6 seconds. They raced to victory 16 seconds of Callandays, the swimmer they beat by 38 seconds on the previous Sunday. The following Saturday, they won the 200-meter freestyle in 1 minute 41.93, which is 7 seconds ahead of the nearest rival, again giving the fastest female U.S. time in that race. Competitive. So they're going for competitive, the USA Swimming is. Competitive. So a male who takes the treatment, is what they say, they must undergo a hormone therapy. Why? Because it's just testosterone. It's just certain hormones. Look, whether you like it or not, the male anatomy is different by this point. Bone density is different. Muscle mass is different. Not only that, the way they process oxygen is very different. I showed you that picture. You probably could guess which one was Thomas. Towering over it. So why would somebody want to do that? Well, I think the answer is here. The answer is there. And I want to go again. The anonymous swimmer, from the article, the anonymous Penn swimmer also claims that many people agree with her that despite her general liberalism politically, this is past the Rubicon. And it says, "It is crazy because I don't actually know if Thomas thinks this is fair," she added. "This can't possibly be rewarding in any way. I can't see how anyone would feel good about this." So they're saying, no, that's not over there. I'm going to argue, no, it's exactly about that. Thomas was not good enough to make it as an elite athlete on the male team, so they transitioned to female. And you say, no. It's like, no, you're judging here. You're judging here. You can't do this. But let me show again from the article. "None of Thomas's fellow swimmers have voiced their opinion publicly on the matter. Why? Because they're afraid if they do, they're going to be kicked off. They're going to be labeled as intolerant. They're going to be labeled as bigot. They're going to be taken out. So they won't do it. They won't do it publicly. But some have spoken out anonymously to air their concerns, saying that Thomas is arrogant. Their teammates are upset, and that their coach is obsessed with winning. Why does the coach go in? Because they're winning. But they're saying Thomas is arrogant. How far to the point? It says Thomas compares themselves to Jackie Robinson. She said, they said they are like Jackie Robinson of trans sports. If you're not familiar with who Jackie Robinson is, they were the first black baseball player to compete in the major league. Something that's not a choice, skin color. It's based on genetics. It's based on the melanin in their skin. Jackie Robinson couldn't control that. And they're comparing this. Thomas is comparing themselves to Jackie Robinson, saying, hey, I feel like a woman. I wasn't good enough to make it as in a male athlete, as an elite male athlete, but I'm now as the male. I'm setting records. Says they're arrogant. Yeah. And I think, why is this a problem? Why am I speaking about this? You say on this? Is it just because I'm against men saying they're women and competing in women's sports? Well, I partly. But it's really because the foundation is bunk. It really is. It's saying however you feel, but they only take it in some aspects, saying when it comes to gender, it's that aspect. There was a court case where a person did it with age, and they took it all the way to the Supreme Court for it, because they had the money. You can look this up. And in the end, the judge says, I know why you're doing it, but sorry, we're not going to allow it. This is what? It's the exact same thing. I feel younger. I'm experiencing ageism. It's the same thing. You say, no, there's genetic issues. But you see, the problem is, it's not even just something like Thomas making this. This is being pushed on our kids. This is being pushed in our schools. This is being pushed through the government. This is being pushed by the Canadian government. See, this is the problem. Saying that, hey, however you feel, that's how you are. And then they wonder why our youth is having such issues, why our youth is suffering from anxiety, depression, wondering who they are. Why? Because you're saying whoever you feel. Look, I've got a child with autism. I do. And my child one day come up and said, hey, yeah, have they said they're a girl? Sure, they said they're a girl. Just because they thought it was funny. Next time they say they're a boy. Then they said they were the dog. What do I got to do if they're the dog? I got to put a collar on them, make them sleep in a crate, make sure I take them for walks, make sure they go to pee outside. You say, no, that's child abuse. Well, of course it is. And I would argue that messing a child up who's 4, 5, 6 years old, who haven't even developed, who say, hey, I'm a girl, say, yeah, okay, we're going to give you hormone therapy. That is abuse. But this is what is happening. And the worst part is that you've got corporations like the NCAA, the USA Swimming Organization, and every organization refusing to step up and say, no, this is wrong. Why? Because their foundation is so slippery. It is so bad. It doesn't hold water, but stand firm on a solid foundation. What is yes, no is no, male are male, female are female. Each have equal but important roles, but they're different. And this is a prime example of it. A man pretending a woman is shattering female records, and they're saying that's okay. Why? In the name of inclusivity, so we don't hurt feelings. This is not a good foundation. If we want to get it solid, get back on the foundation that God intended. And it starts with a foundation on His Word and on Jesus. Hey, I just want to thank you for watching. If you like the content, want to subscribe, like, tell a friend. get the word out. Also, if you want more content, you can follow me on YouTube, on Rumble, or you can even download the Foundation with Steve Teed podcast and Take Me on the Go, found on almost all podcast apps. This couldn't happen without you, and I encourage you, build on a strong foundation.